While the inflation print spooked Wall Street, we have better news here in India because inflation has finally cooled off. This is, of course, CPI inflation has cooled off from that 6.2% mark to at least coming down to about 5.5%. And there's some cheer on IIP because IIP has picked up compared to the previous month as well. Latha is here with all the analysis. Latha, what do you make of the numbers?
In line with expectations is always good because it's 5.5, lower than October, 6.21. And lower than that 6% dreaded mark, which is the upper tolerance limit of the RBI and the MPC. So far, so good. Now, where do you think the problem starts? OK, the other good point really is core inflation. Core inflation is a little bit lower than October at 3.6% versus 3.7%. That's largely because gold prices fell. So that's helped. And that's the good news. Now, the slightly troubling news, food inflation is still at 9.04. It's better than 10.87 of October, for sure, but not as low as analysts were penciling in. And within that, vegetables, yes, 29% year-on-year looks ugly, but it is so much better than the 42% year-on-year rise, which was the October number. But it was expected to be even lower. It was hoped that it'll fall more in December as winter sets in. But the first 10 days December data is not all that encouraging. Besides, in November itself, you have edible oils running at 13.5%. It wasn't expected. You know, the import tariff increase, which brought this price increase, was expected to be restricted more to October and not so much in November. That's come in higher than expected. And cereals, it's almost 7%, 6.9%. That's not good. You know, these are very, very essential staples. And if they still run at 7%, it's very, very troubling. So overall, the food inflation is not very encouraging for the governor. For the new governor, there is one more number. December inflation before he gets into the monetary policy in the first week of February. Now, that number, the Reserve Bank's October, November, December average forecast is 5.7. We have a 6.21 and a 5.48 for the 2 months. If the December month is even 5.6, that forecast of 5.7 is achieved. But you tell me, a governor going into a first policy has 6.2, 5.5 and 5.6 December inflation. I mean, what is the confidence with which he will cut? He'll perhaps cut by pointing out to 6-month ahead inflation and saying, no, we expect it to be 4%. But it still makes it slightly shaky ground. And what is making it even more shakier is the way in which the dollar is rising. 107, which means we are going to see perhaps a little more upward pressure on the dollar rupee as well, maybe already at 84, 85. And as you go towards February, if it, Trump is already in the presidency, if it gets ugly, there is a lot of imported inflation coming in if you have the rupee at 85 or 85.5. And I mean, I would still think that the governor has a tough spot. Already 2 external members are voting for a cut. So it's very easy to get a cut, both in terms of the numbers he has and pointing to the IIP number, which is what I'm coming to. IIP, we're all saying, oh, it is in line and it's a little better than September number. But 3.5% for a country aspiring to 6.8 to 7% growth. And this is, remember, October, when factories are producing everything for the festival month, both October itself and November. And still we have only 3.5%. And look at all the goods. Consumer durables is the only thing which is a tolerable 5.9. Non-durables, which you will consume during Diwali, 2.7. Capital goods, 3.1. Electricity, 2%. Manufacturing, 4.1. I mean, it's not really a gangbuster growth. The governor will probably point to this when he asks the MPC members for a rate cut, probably. But, this is not overall a very cheerful number. As far as growth is concerned, as far as inflation is concerned, yes, it is leading to a rate cut.
Thank you very much for that. But as you said, right, before his first meet, Trump would have taken charge on the 20th of January. So there is that uncertainty, dollar index.
Let's not only look at inflation.
It's not just about inflation growth back home, but it's also about, trade tariffs, what Trump will do. But we'll talk more about it as the show goes on, as the day goes on. Let's tell you.